And he's just marching up right into the face of Ramthora, and he's not budging, and Ranthora's got some T2 PD up here. Actually, LCR is using the engineers to repair his comm as he just... What's up, folks? My name is Paraplegic Sloth, and welcome along to episode 28 of our community cast series. Before we get into today's carnage, I just want to go through a few things. First up on the agenda is Twitter. I've made a Twitter account. I'm now on social media, and if you're socially medially inclined, please give me a follow. I'll be communicating all new episodes of all the series that I do, and also just generally hanging out with people that want to hang out on social media. Next up is replays. I've got a real problem with getting replays since I came back from my kind of few month hiatus a few weeks ago. It's really difficult to get up and running again when I've got no source of replays whatsoever. So guys, please, if you want to see a continuation of what I'm trying to do and get better at, then help us Sloth out this Christmas. And then lastly, I just want to give a shout out to Jagged Appliance, who's a very respectable and upstanding member of the FAF community, and he's achieved 1,000 subscribers recently, and that's a big milestone for YouTubers, if you don't know. So well done to him, and I wish him all the best, and he is probably the most deserving person of 1,000 subs that I've seen since I started playing this game. So well done, mate. And finally, I just want to take the opportunity to quickly talk about some of the new POV content that I'm making for Supreme Commander. I won't be posting it in Aeolus like I do with the Community Cast Library series, so if you want to see that content, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you hit the bell notification icon. Yeah, I think that's everything. So, okay, let's crack on with today's stuff, and thank you guys, let's go. Hi there guys, welcome along to a 5 versus 5 on a new flavor of the 10x10 map Wonder Open, made by LCR. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's made by LCR. It's still got a few kinks to work out, but I thought it was an interesting replay. I think it's also an interesting map, a little bit different from the other versions of Wonder, so I thought I'd give it a whirl and see what you guys think. So as ever, we're going to call this team in the top left Team 1 and the team in the bottom right Team 2, and starting off with the players for Team 1 in the air slot, going Space Pirate Alien Shenanigans, coming in at 1200. It is Cthulhu Rising. Next up for Team 1, down on the left hand flank, going Super Sexy Cybran, it is Martin 23 coming in at 1100. To his inside right, going UEF and a horrible colour, coming in at 1200. It is LCR. And then next up for Team 1, another UEF player coming in at 1000. It is the Chicken Lord, or Te Chicken Lord. And then finally for Team 1, going Aeon and the MVP of the replay, coming in at 1600. It is Crozier. In terms of the opening builds for Team 1, most people are normal. In fact, everyone looks like they're going a traditional Hydro Rush, which makes me all warm and fuzzy on the inside, apart from Cthulhu Rising. So he's gone first land, so I immediately don't like the fact that he's gone a T1 P-Gen thereafter. So he's going just the 1 core max. His first engineer is going to start the Hydro, and the second and third engies are moving to assist the Hydro. So he's completely ignored 3 of his 4 opening maxes here, and I'm pretty sure he's going to go into a substantial and completely unnecessary mass stall, and there it is. So a bit of a train wreck opening there from Cthulhu Rising. We'll see how that pans out for him later on in the game, but for now we should hop over to Team 2. And for Team 2, starting off in the air slot, going Seraphim, and coming in at 1000, it is Berserker Smain. Next up for Team 2 over on the left flank, it is Dassault, who's gone UEF and comes in at 1400. And to his inside right, a super sexy Cybran player by the name of Ramthura coming in at 1000. And next up for Team 2, it's another Space Pirate Alien Shenanigan selection. It is Lord Castiel coming in at 1000. And then lastly for Team 2, going UEF and coming in at 1500, it is Esterosa. So opening builds for Team 2, we've got 3 Hydro Rushers by the looks of things. The Air player and Esterosa choosing to be a little bit different. And if we just jump into Esterosa, so he's going 3 of the starting 4 mexes. And if we take a look at his land factory, that's why. So some early T1 land aggression planned for Esterosa, and he needs to get his power up a little bit earlier as a result. If we come down and take a look at Berserker Smain, he's gone first air, and because he's gone first air and it requires a little bit more power to get going, he's gone 2 T1 P-Gens after his air factory, and then he's opening up the core mexes with his commander, and the first few engineers are going to take care of the Hydro. And just there's a little bit of a mistake that's occurred here for Berserker Smain. He hasn't finished his Hydro yet, and he's already moved his commander to start making additional T1 P-Gens. He shouldn't actually make that one there anyway, but the fact that he's started making T1 P-Gens before he's finished his Hydro means he's going into a power store now. So I don't mind the build. If he'd not done that there, the power store wouldn't have nearly been as bad, and he would have been just fine. So not as much as a train wreck as his opponent, but we'll see how that pans out for him. And now we're going to cut straight over to some opening action. Actually, do you know what? I think we'll just kick things off right here where we are, because there's a few bits to talk about. So the balance of this is 92%. One of the bigger differences for this map, if we just take a look at the reclaim, is that nearly all of the reclaim is exclusively along the kind of equator of the map, and that's where this version of Wonder starts to become a little bit different. On the other versions of Wonder, you've got like a shitload of reclaim around the base of the starting cliffs for the air players, so this is promoting much more aggression from commanders to get forward earlier to compete for the reclaim, which I think is a good thing. Keeps things interesting. What's also a little bit different about this version of, well, this new flavor of Wonder, if we call it that, are the corners. So we've got some kind of geological outcroppings now in the corners of this map, and that's created a few choke points. Obviously the flanks of both teams still vitally important, and there's a lot of additional mexes up for grabs. I kind of feel like that it's easier for Dassault to take this expansion, and it's easier for Crozier to take this expansion. So it's kind of stacked the sides against each other a little bit, kind of like Saturn's does on Rock and Beach. So Rock is kind of designed to be better than Beach by default, and I kind of feel like that this map this flavor has added that in, so interesting. So that being said, we should expect Dassault to be a key player for Team 2 and Crozier to be a key player for Team 1. That's my prediction. And we'll have to see how that pans out. We've got an early com push here from Esterosa as he just moves forward to annihilate a few exploring units from Crozier. Crozier is countering with his ACU now, moving that forward. And over on in the center, we've got an early push from LCR as you get some T1 units in the face of Ramthora. Ramthora going into, well, he's 3/4 of the way through a T2 upgrade there. But LCR also managing to get a little squadron of T1 tanks here between the lines of Lord Castiel and Ramthora. And something that I haven't mentioned, this is supposed to be an adaptive map, but the adaptive bit is one of the kinks that's yet to be worked out. So there's a lot of additional starting bases to compete for, and as a result of that, there's actually a huge gap in the middle of both of these teams. And LCR just managing to exploit the space a little bit. He's got around both sides of Ramthora here as he moves T1 units, taking out some frontline mexes, and he's now into the back end of his starting area, taking out some T1 Pjans. And LCR on his commander is in the latter stages of gun upgrade, so that makes getting some T2 PD up for Ramthora very important, and Ramthora already in a lot of trouble here. He's had to go into some T1 PD construction to stop all the raiding around his edges. He's lost quite a lot of mexes. Berserker Smain has had to push up his ACU to try and help his teammate tidy up the back of his base here. But all this is really caused by a pretty severe lack of unit production at the start of this one. Over on the right side, Crozier's pushed up to one of the choke points added into this version of the map, and he looks like he's going to park himself right on the peripheral edge of Esterosa's base. And LCR over in the center now. He's got that gun upgrade. He's got a few engineers in tow as well, and his commander now starting to harass the forward lines of Ramthora. Poor old Ramthora has been molested since the very get-go of this, and we've now got the commanders of Crozier and Esterosa on the right starting to exchange some civilized right arm action. But now we cut back over to LCR, and he's just marching up right into the face of Ramthora, and he's not budging, and Ramthora's got some T2 PD up here. Actually, LCR is using the engineers to repair his comm as he just annihilates the HP off Ramthora, and Ramthora is actually going to be forced to fall back here. Surely there's an attack ping that goes down, and then LCR turns his attention to the Cerberus turret. I love the ballsy move there by LCR. He just needs to rub a little bit of salt in. He's not going to kill Ramthora on this occasion, but if he could just start reclaiming that forward area, that would be a very good coup early on in the game here. Back on the right hand side, and Crozier is asserting his early dominance over Esterosa. Esterosa starting to counter with some T1 bombers. Esterosa has also gone fairly quickly into T2, hence the deficiency in unit numbers. But also, if we look at Crozier, he's managed to take control of the top right expansion area, and of course that is going to do his economy the world of good. And conversely for Team 2, Dassault has managed to get the corner expansion for his team and himself, and we've actually got gunships now moving down from Cthulhu Rising onto the ACU of Dassault, and there's a little bit of an error here by Cthulhu. He should be taking out the T1 AA before moving on to the commander. That's not enough T2 gunships to cause too much trouble to Dassault, and I'm going to have severe issues, guys, because we've got a colour match here which is horrendous for my eyes. We've got the lilac of Dassault and the blue of Martin, and to my eyes that colour looks identical. So I think these are Martin's units. Yes, they are. But those gunships dispatched mainly because of the tactical error by Cthulhu. And Dassault has actually redeployed a contingent of his units to flank around and push up through the front of Ramthora's base into LCR. So that's going to buy Ramthora some time to rebuild here. And Ramthora looks like he's in all sorts of eco trouble there as he struggles to... Well, actually, that's why he's gone into the construction of a T2 Max. I'm pretty sure he should be building T1 there. We've now got a little party of pillars building up for Esterosa as he continues the T1 bomber aggression into the Aurora of Crozier. That's a good tactic when you're against Aeon. But Crozier with a lot of numbers there, and we're up to about 10 minutes now, so I'm just going to slow this down a little bit as we do an early-ish eco check. And mass income right now, top of the charts, is Berserker Smain on 77, but snapping right on his heels is Crozier for Team 2 on 75. And if you consider the fact that Crozier has built a lot of land units as well, Berserker has been pretty much just ecoing, so I would actually argue that Crozier's economy is by far the most impressive right now, and all the way back in third place, and it is a way back in third place. It is Martin on, no it isn't, it's Dassault on 55. So we did single out Dassault and Crozier as the two crucial players for their respective teams, and Crozier in these early stages doing the better job. Oh, and actually Ramthura, while I'm rambling on about economy, is deep into the red here. Cthulhu Rising has dispatched another squadron of T2 gunships, and Cthulhu almost got the kill of Ramthura. I'm actually not sure whether or not that was a good decision by Cthulhu. Ramthura has already pretty much been completely nullified by LCR's early aggression. I'm not sure that getting the kill of Ramthura was a worthwhile endeavour at that point. Apply pressure to somewhere else, I think. And over on the left we've got some TML up from Martin, but we've also got the ACU of Dassault now, and he's got past the choke points, and he's now PD creeping into Martin's starting area over on in the centre, and we've got a nano upgrade on Lord Castiel, which finishes just in time. So Lord Castiel, gun, nano and T2 on that Seraphim ACU now, pretty powerful. And Berserker Smain moving up some gunships to assist Lord in dispatching that T1 push there from the Chicken Lord. And Ramthura is still struggling to get to grips here with rebuilding efforts. He's got 2 maxes that's not taken up. He's got a whole lot of reclaim deposited around his ACU, which he is not taking advantage of. And back on the left now, we've got push coming over from LCR to assist Martin. And Martin is using that TML launcher to take out some of the T2 PD belonging to Dassault, and Dassault is yet to counter that with some TMD. And Berserker now moving over some T2 gunships. And actually, we've actually got quite a lot of pillars now starting to congeal just in this choke point here for Dassault. And Martin doesn't look like he's... well, he's got a T2 HQ, which it's not guaranteed it'll be alive for much longer, but he hasn't managed to transition into mass T2 production, indeed has very low unit count here. So these pillars are a massive threat right now to Martin. And we just see there Berserker Smain moving over these gunships, and the gunships were scouted by Team 1. It might have been Cthulhu, and Cthulhu has just kind of redeployed his interceptors with a left flank preference, ready to swoop in and counter. But now we see the pillars of Dassault breaching the peripheral structures of Martin, and Martin is in all sorts of trouble now. Dassault could have mixed in a couple of mobile shields there, but what he's got going here will be more than enough to severely hamper Martin, maybe even grab the kill eventually, as we just watch all of these T1 factories turn to rubble. LCR's moved over his comm from centre to left centre, and he's trying to get some triads up to assist in the defence. Oh, and now we see the pillars converging on Martin's ACU, and Martin has got no chance here. He is going to go down, and he's even got the indecency to explode his ACU right in the middle of LCR's base, and I'm sure LCR would be very appreciative of that. Back over on the right hand side, we've got Crozier pushing into Esterosa, and the Chicken Lord, at the death of his teammate, the Chicken Lord has control Cade. I've got no idea why. He was having a few problems which we were about to touch on, so Lord Castiel managed to get some T2 stealth online, and as a result the Chicken Lord was having problems dealing with the T2 PD of Lord Castiel, and apparently the death of a teammate was just enough to make him suicide. And Crozier's now got a problem now, because Lord Castiel is immediately projecting all of his spam towards the north at Crozier to reinforce Esterosa, and Esterosa needs to push through now with this T2 contingent. But hold on, we do have T3 land on the field for Crozier. He is into some Harbingers, so actually I think this is nothing more than a mass donation on the doorstep of Crozier, and so unperturbed is Crozier that he's actually making T3 power right in the middle of this battle. And the Harbingers now are just going to mop up these pillars as the pillars desperately try to kill something of value before they die. They're not going to manage to do so. And we've got a TML snipe coming in now on LCR, and LCR, wow, 900 and something hit points he was reduced to there, and the TML being launched from Ramthura, and it was only 3 TML there. So normally when I'm going for a TML snipe I do 4, and if he'd gone with Thor 4, LCR would be dead. And I'm not actually sure if LCR had stood still. I think that might have just been enough to kill LCR. LCR just managing to look like he got out of a direct hit there. I could be wrong. We very nearly missed it. And we've got a strat bomber now out from Cthulhu Rising, and it doesn't look like it managed to achieve anything of significance before it was annihilated by the interceptor swarm of Berserker Smain. And Crozier now forward with his ACU, countering the forward push from Lord Castiel's ACU. So we've got a nano gun and T2 Seraphim com versus a double gun shield Aeon com. But the key difference here is Lord Castiel is still transitioning into T2, where Crozier is in full T3 production mode now with the Harbingers. And Lord Castiel needs to be very, very careful with his ACU. He's trying to be aggressive, he's trying to apply pressure, but Crozier now just looks like he's got too much. And for me, Lord Castiel and Esterosa should be falling back and trying to go back to the drawing board. Crozier's ACU is forced back though. He's lost his shield, he's down to about half health. The T2 PD has managed to repel the Harbingers sent forward by Crozier, but Crozier now mixing in some sniper bots into the equation, and they're going to cause all sorts of problems. Looks like a mass field now that is just waiting for someone to reap the benefits of. Crozier needs to get his comeback here. He's still taking PD fire from Lord Castiel, and he's now into the red. and he's quickly redispatching some T2 mobile shield to his ACU. Oh, and Ranthora here has actually managed to push up the center of the map, and he's got a small squadron of units into the back of LCR's base, but LCR is going to mop that up without too much problem. We've got TML continuing to harass the position of LCR from Dassault, mainly Ranthora, and Ranthora here with another volley of 3. LCR's ACU is much more defended now for snipes and doesn't even breach the shields. And as we just go into a very momentary pause, I think. Oh, and actually we've got some action at the back of Cthulhu's base there. Just some tanks getting through into the back area of Cthulhu Rising, taking out some of his mexes. And Cthulhu Rising is having all sorts of problems here. The TML launcher from Dassault has been taking out Cap T2 mexes in his core base, and Cthulhu with no T2 on hand to get some quick TMD built. So Dassault doing some pretty nasty damage to Cthulhu Rising there. And let's just jump into some eco here, and top of the charts right now we have Dassault on an income of 142. In second it's Crozier on 129, and then way back in third we have Berserker's Main on 97. And if we just look at Cthulhu there and we talk about the problems he's had thrust upon him by Dassault, his income right now is 30, and that is not power locked. That is his income. So Cthulhu virtually being crippled by the one TML launcher of Dassault. And we've got another chunky push now brewing from Crozier here, as he's got a whole host of Harbingers supported by some sniper bots, some mobile shield, and still Lord Castiel and Esterosa. Well, Esterosa is getting some T3 off the production lines now, but oh, we've got a TML attempt there coming in, and I think that was aiming for the HQ of Crozier, but Crozier is still only at half health on his ACU from the forward action earlier against Lord Castiel. I'm not sure if that would have hit Lord Castiel. Is he just under enough shield there? I don't think he is, you know. If that TML had just been aimed a little bit differently, I think Crozier could have bit the dust there. Not to be on this occasion, but now Lord Castiel with his ACU, the last line of defense against the T3 push. He's going to go down here surely to the Harbingers, and there he goes. I think that might have just been a couple of sniper bots at the back there that finished Lord Castiel off. It was a resolute, spirited defense from Lord Castiel, but he just didn't have the economy or the tech level to compete against the full T3 spam of Crozier. And if we just take a look at the air game now between the two teams, we've got 33 ASF on the field for Berserker's Main, and if we just jump into Cthulhu, who's had lots of problems, he's got 3 ASF and a strat bomber. He's not using the strat bomber, but Berserker's Main in complete control of air, and he needs to actually start making some offensive air units now, get some strat bombers on the go. He should know that he's well in control of air. Dassault has done a number on his economy, as we touched on earlier, and Esterosa has managed to push up the right hand side here and eradicate most of the expansion belonging to Crozier. Crozier just rediverting some units to clean that up. And in the center now we've got a Percival push coming forward from Dassault into the fortified area of LCR's ACU, and LCR has got more than enough PD to deal with those Percivals. So poor decision there by Dassault. Should have pushed those up round to the left and cut around the back of the position. He's chosen to confront the firebase head on instead of move around it, and he's going to pay the price for that, I think. And Crozier now moving down the center of the map, seems to be quite comfortable with the fact that he's got the measure of Esterosia, and he wants to push down more into the center and drive a wedge between the two halves of Team 2, and he looks very much set to do that should he wish to. And we've now see Dassault and Esterosia trying to congeal their combined unit counts here to repel the push down the center from Crozier. We've got Percivals moving forward from Dassault to assist the Percivals of Esterosia, but there's just not enough to offer too much assistance here, and Esterosia has actually got his ACUs moving across here to try and offer some support. He needs to be careful with his comm for sure. And we've got T2 bombers from Berserker just moving up the left hand side there. No attack orders given yet, but Notha, I don't like using Nothas really because they've got no AoE, so unless you're taking out structures, Nothas are useful. And the onslaught from Crozier down the centre doesn't look like that it's going to be stopped anytime soon, as he lays waste to some power belonging to Ramthura, and the Nothas now being pushed forward. Did they completely miss their first pass? No, they didn't. So Berserker going for an ACU snipe with the Nothas there, but as I said actually just a minute ago, well, it helps if you stand completely still. So Cthulhu Rising going out to a Notha snipe from Berserker Smain. Cthulhu has not covered himself in glory in this replay. I'm sure he'll be the first to hold his hands up for that one. There was absolutely no need to die to the Nothas there. He could have quite easily dodged them, but instead he decided to stand still, and on the second pass the Nothas did their thing, and Crozier now all the way through to the back of Berserker Smain's base now, and this might hurt. Crozier just deciding whether he wants to prioritize T3 power or T3 max, and so far takes out one of each. Needs to keep moving and pivot around the back of this base here, as Team 2 no doubt try to send in units to counter the push, and Berserker pretty close to losing his second T3 P-Gen, and that will cause a power stall, I think. And there we see, so Berserker now in all sorts of trouble himself. He's lost 2 T3 Maxes, 2 T3 P-Gens, and now attentions are turning to the air factories. Might want to prioritize the HQ if he feels he can get to it. And Ramthura with a pretty measly response in the terms of T2 Rhinos. Not going to do too much against Harbingers and Shield. But Crozier deciding that he's inflicted enough damage on poor old Berserker, and he's just moving to the north edge here. And Esterosia has actually brought his comm all the way back here to try and deal with this once and for all. And as he does that, Crozier sends another wave of T3 spam, and this time focusing down on the base of Esterosa, it looks like. And Esterosa, with his attentions to the south trying to repel this push, has left himself pretty wide open, and it looks like he's going to lose most of, if not all of, his base now. And we've got a fat boy from Dassault here for Team 2 over on the left hand side. That's about 50% complete. So LCR just struggling now. He's got some crossfire coming in from our T2 stationary arty from Dassault, as well as the TML launchers of Ramthura continuing to rain down on him. But back over on the right hand side now, and Crozier has completely eradicated Esterosa's holdings in this match. And Esterosa just trying to dance around and range these harbingers a little bit with those Percivals. And now he's just electing to just pull them back altogether, it looks like. Got some more Nothers being stashed up on the left hand side by Berserker, but of course he's lost his base, so that production line will be at the very best severely diminished. Crozier splitting up his units into 3 groups now. We've got the group to the right chasing down these Percivals belonging to Esterosa. There's a group of Harbingers moving through the centre. They're going to come across a Percival, but there should be enough Harbingers there to deal with that. And then to the left of that central push, there's a party of mainly sniper bots and shields. And the fat boy has finished, and Dassault is yet to deploy it. And Dassault needs to, well, he needs to move it to the center to try and repel Crozier's T3 advances, and before Dassault loses his core base. Or he needs to take the other route and go around the top and try and take out Crozier directly with this fat boy. The problem there is that we've got LCR guarding the flank of Crozier, and I'm not sure that the second option, I'm not sure he's got enough time to execute it. I mean, LCR doesn't look like he's prepared to counter this fat boy. It's just whether or not Dassault can clear this out before we can get to the guy he needs to get to, before he loses his base, because Crozier now is reapproaching. And actually a little bit of a respite there for Dassault. It looks like Crozier is refocusing down on Berserker Smain's base, and all the parties sent forward are starting to congeal on the peripheral edge. And Berserker Smain loading his ACU up into a T2 transport, and that T2 transport is going to move the ACU to some relative safety for the time being. And the fat boy now causing all sorts of problems for LCR, but all LCR needs to do is just hold on for as long as he can here. He's just buying time for this guy to do his thing, and LCR needs to pull back his ACU now. He's lost the fire base, and we've also got TML raining down, taking out three T2 Cat Maxes there. So LCR he can fall back and take up the vacated space left by Cthulhu, but it will probably feel pretty in vain right now for LCR. There's nothing he can do about this fat boy right now, and also Dassault moving up some Percivals to finish the job. And talking about finishing the job here, Berserker Smain, his airbase was pretty damaged before. He's got no airbase left to speak of now. And now Dassault is going to come right up against it here. Now he's against the clock. This fat boy needs to get moving around to the ACU of Crozier. And Crozier is against a T2 PD wall, but it's unshielded, so he's just going to move in everything he's got, and that should go down relatively quickly. So Dassault core area here at risk. Esterosa's got his comm there, but his comm's literally the only thing he's got left. And Crozier here just buying himself some more time. He's deployed some T3 units to chase down this fat boy, and that's going to shepherd the fat boy northward, if not back and away from Crozier's base. The Percivals have overextended from the fat boy, and they look like they're going to be pincered and mopped up. I think what Dassault was trying to do there was envelop the ACU of LCR. I think that's just worked out to be a little bit too greedy, but being rediverted now, and there's a lot of cap T2 maxes that are up for grabs here for the Percivals. The Percivals aren't going to hold back this push from Crozier, so he just needs to take out high value targets. And Esterosa control Ks. I'm not sure if that was a control K or he was taken out by the units of Crozier. It could have easily been either, to be honest. And Crozier pretty much deserves to kill that. Although Dassault won't be very grateful that Esterosa went bang right in the middle of his base. And Berserker without a base is still managing to maintain air control and offer up some air support for the fat boy. The fat boy now is falling back, and that's a problem. That's a problem, as Dassault is losing all of his base slowly as he can't counter this party. There's not much left of the party, but it's still enough. So I think we should just speed things up now. And Berserker Smain again withdrawing his comm pretty much to the only safe place left on the map. And Crozier is now converging on the position of Ramthora. It looks like Ramthora has had plenty of time to dig in here, but has only mustered up a Cerberus turret and a handful of T1 PD. And the Harbingers are going to laugh in the face of that. And Ramthora very unceremoniously dispatched from the game at 35 minutes. And that's going to open up the tirade upon Dassault's core base now. Crozier's actually managed to finish a GC here. The fat boy of Dassault has been redeployed to try and fend off and protect what remains of Dassault's core area. And I actually think that Crozier is just baiting the fat boy south as he pushes the GC across the map from the top. And right now Dassault is buying everything that Crozier is selling. He's literally just parked up the units there to die to this fat boy. And then now the attack pings are going down on the GC. So now they see the GC, but it's way too late. There is another fat boy that's nearly finished for Desot, but I don't think it's going to be finished in time. And only now is the fat boy starting to be recalled north as the GC gets into the painful area, and it's on Desot's comm. There goes Desot, and Berserker Smain, who hasn't had a base for about 50% of this game, is now left with, he's still got air control, credit to him, but he's only got an ACU on the ground, and that's going to wrap the match up. So nice little tactical deployment there by Crozier at the end, pulling off the fat boy to allow the GC to cross the map unhindered. And now we see Crozier with a comeback, getting 4 kills. Team 1 were behind for the early stages of that game up until Crozier got to T3 economy and then started to cause major problems. And as we can see, the aforementioned player taking all 4 categories. So man of the match for this one is pretty much as straightforward as you're ever going to see. So good job, Crozier. Good replay as well. Right guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and please don't forget to show your support if you did, and smash the thumbs up button. And if you haven't yet considered subscribing, please do so as we continue to grow this channel. Take care. I'll catch you in the next episode.